it's your girl Adeola. Finally, it's Buhari's 1 year in office. What do you guys think of his performance so far? Nigerians are basically divided. Some say that he's done really well.
They have actually tried in the aspect of corruption and in the aspect of recovering of Nigerian funds.
In trying to put it in the right perspective, in trying to stabilize the country.
Mr. President is doing everything within his reach to ensure that the system is corruption-free.
Now, there are others that are saying that this is the worst administration in Nigeria.
See bag of beans now, from 7,000 to 20-something thousand. Last week we did a sales subsidy. Me, as I did like this, I don't know what in the subsidy. Now leg now, a businessman now leg now how they use come market.
I get children, I cannot be able to pay their school fees. Even this public school, they cannot go again. So this change will be, this that change is for good. We don't know say it's changing for bad.
I dey hear bondage. I think it's not a joke. The thing I don't do at the most. The only thing we don't add money for this market now, toilets where we go. Now the only thing we no add money.
This Baba goes slow too much. Where they travel, you understand? Make it stay. Do work for Nigeria. They say they collect money, make poor enjoy. That money we never see anything they take and do. We still they suffer. Rice what we been they buy before, we no fit eat rice again. Even that stone one we no fit buy again.
And of course, there are those who dance in celebration of Buhari's 365 days in office. So yes, Nigerians are pretty divided in their opinion of Buhari's administration in the last 1 year. So what do I think? Well, let me put out this disclaimer before I talk about what I think. The only way that you won't be offended by what I would say today is, number one, if you're not tribalistic, because I'm going to say some things. The second thing is if you can be a little reasonable and forget about whether Buhari is Hausa or whether Jonathan is from the Niger Delta. I'm just gonna talk about people's performance. I don't care where they're from. So what do I think? Honestly, I'm disappointed. I'm seriously disappointed in the Buhari's administration so far. I'm disappointed even though I know that a huge part of what we're facing right now in Nigeria is because of what the previous administration did. It was during Jonathan's time that we sold oil for $120 per barrel. That had never happened. That's the peak of oil price, and they did not save any amount. They even spent from the savings that was left by the previous administration before Jonathan. $20 billion disappeared. The money that was meant to buy weapons was misappropriated. Corruption was celebrated during Jonathan's time. So I know all that. And apart from that, I know that when Buhari came in, oil price went from $120 to $20 per barrel. So that's a huge difference. But despite all that, I'm really disappointed in how Buhari has ruled the country over the last 1 year. First of all, he's been too slow, way too slow, and millions of lives have been affected by his pace. This is June, and this year's budget is still yet to be implemented. The budget drama went on for way too long between the presidency and the lawmakers. He should have read it before submitting it the first time instead of having to take it back to make changes. Meanwhile, all the ministries depend on the budget to do anything meaningful. So in my opinion, I feel like Buhari has been too slow. By now, I did not expect Buhari and Osinbajo to still be telling us that we will do this, we will do that. At least we see what the president of Tanzania is doing. Enough of saying that you will diversify the economy. By now, you should be telling us that these are the steps that we've taken in the hopes of diversifying the economy. You should be saying things like, my fellow Nigerians, we are now developing our tourism industry. The Ajaokuta Steel Complex is now working. We just employed 2,000 graduates there. We are now investing in solar power. We are now tapping into the other 10,000 natural resources that we have in Nigeria. Oh, by 2020, we will no longer have to depend on oil. We are working on developing the Ghana Pyramid in Kano. I was hoping to be hearing that by now, a year after he took power. What is the latest about Boko Haram? I'm glad that he said that they've rescued about 11,000 people, but the war is still not over. What about the Chibok girls? Have we done enough to rescue the rest of those that are still missing? Communication has been very, very bad with this administration. They've not been good at it at all, carrying people along. For example, everybody knows that things are really tight right now in Nigeria, but of course, the presidential spokesperson, Femi Adesina, I've been telling this man for a long time to start calling me before speaking in public. The man had the audacity to say that it's not true that Nigerians are suffering. And for the longest, Buhari was traveling here and there, going to other countries. Instead of getting the budget done, working on the economy, the important thing to me is the price of Gari and Ekpa. And right now, the price of Gari and Ekpa is not falling. Even if you can afford the Gari, you cannot afford the Ekpa. Not to talk about the fact that you cannot afford cold water to drink your Gari because there is no light. Have you heard about how banks are firing people now? The First Bank fired 1,000 people. UBA fired about 1,000 people. How are people going to survive? I like the fact that so far Buhari has been fighting corruption. But you know, some of the cases are being dragged for way too long. Such as the case of our Senate President, Bukola Saraki. Is anybody else still doubting that Bukola is corrupt? And that aside, Buhari has been tribalistic, and you can have your own opinion about this, but since the issue of Fulani herdsmen came up, he's not taking a firm stand against what these people are doing. I know that he's also Fulani, and that's more reason why he should take a stand. How could Buhari give a whole address, addressing the nation to mark his 1 year in office, and not once did he mention the Fulani herdsmen killing people and seizing their lands for their cows to graze on? He didn't mention it. Meanwhile, in the same address, he talked about the new militant, that is the Avengers, and he said we shall apprehend the perpetrators and their sponsors and bring them to justice.
If the militants and the vandals are testing our resolve, they are much mistaken. We shall apprehend the perpetrators and their sponsors and bring them to justice.
He's been really firm about the militants since they started, but he did not condemn the Fulani herdsmen that are killing human beings. And you want me to believe that he's not being tribalistic? How can you overlook such a thing? Last week, the governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayose, met with hunters and promised to equip them with whatever they needed to fight the Fulani herdsmen.
You want a pickup today? Today I will provide a pickup for you. In that pickup, I will provide mobile phones. I will provide gadgets enough for you to operate.
Now, as much as I don't agree with how Fayose is handling this, you cannot blame the guy. The Fulani herdsmen are killing his people, and the federal government is not providing protection. But the scary thing is, if we're not careful, another civil war could break out. With all these groups that are springing up, the Fulani herdsmen, the militants, Boko Haram, if we're not careful, another civil war will break out, which is why the president cannot overlook any of them. He cannot be selective in the ones that he will tackle. Now, speaking about the new militants, so it breaks my heart when I see Nigerians with the mentality of, if I don't have something, then nobody else would have it. Really? These people are bombing up pipelines. They said that they want their own sovereign state. And my conclusion is that Buhari is not the only one that has been tribalistic. I always wonder why this new militant group did not spring up when Jonathan was in power, despite the fact that he didn't clean up the oil spillage in Ogoniland. Buhari was the one that ordered the cleanup as soon as he became president. And the Niger Delta elders have expressed disappointment in Jonathan's administration time and time again. Even the ex-militants have expressed that the Niger Delta did not benefit from Jonathan's administration in terms of development, except for the fact that he was paying them ransom so that they would not blow up the pipelines. The water pollution was there when Jonathan was president. He didn't do anything about it. In fact, it was the JTF that donated borehole for his mother's hometown. Despite all that, on June 2nd, Buhari ordered the release of another $1 billion for the cleanup of Ogoniland. So what if you get your own sovereign state someday and you already blew up all the pipelines? Now you have to start spending money to repair the pipe. Like, these pipelines took years to build, didn't they? Seriously, I've never understood how destroying something can prove that you are right. Maybe the Avengers are trying to get back at Buhari, but Buhari is not the one suffering. Nigerians no longer enjoy stable electricity. Buhari will always have generator, and we the common people are the ones suffering from the increase of oil price. Right now, a lot of people have lost their jobs because the oil companies are leaving Nigeria because of insecurity, and most of the Nigerians that are employed by the oil companies would lose their jobs. And they say they're doing all this to protect the interests of the Niger Deltans. And I'm like, how? Exactly how? If you have enough money to blow up pipelines, you could use that money to build schools, to start an orphanage. You could actually do some kind of good for humanity if you are truly doing all this for the people. Again, I know that I'll be attacked by that. I'm just trying to be reasonable. Like I said at the beginning, a lot of people will take offense with what I have to say about this. So things are really hard right now for an average Nigerian, and that should be priority. How to make life better for Nigerians, not to punish the masses. The moment they increase fuel price without increasing minimum wage, while they're owing salaries, things became really hard for the common man, to the extent that people are dying of hunger. People are now stealing food. I've heard that there are several women that will go with their babies begging for food.
Family people go carry their pikin come inside market, come they beg.
It's that bad. Now, having said all that, I still have hope that things will get better in Nigeria. But I wish they would carry people along. By the way, before I forget, is Buhari sick? Was it just me? Because the way he was reading that speech, I was like, what happened to you?
We started boldly with the Treasury single account, stopping the leakages in the public expenditure.
I know he's 73, so I know that he can't be strong all the time. But if he's dealing with some major illness, he needs to let us know. Seriously, responsible governments do not hide the state of their leaders' health. And who knows, maybe he's not sick, maybe he's just tired. But the way he was reading that thing got me really worried. You guys know that I get worried about my president. It is my job. I have to call them morning, noon, and night. Oh God, are you okay? Are you eating? Are you sleeping? So like I said, I have hope that things will get better. But of course, you guys know that I don't know much. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real.